When working with electronics in Fusion, you are working on electronic designs, so that's what it's called. So we start that by clicking here and New Electronics Design. So then you get this window. So basically you have three different files that you usually deal with, at least two. So you have the schematic, it's where you draw your components, right? And from there you generate a PCB where you physically lay out your components, and then you can optionally generate a 3D file. So, and everything is connected here in an electronics design. So the files will be listed down here. So we can start with a new schematic. We'll click here, new schematic, and then that will automatically be added. When we save the schematic, it will automatically be added to the electronic design. And when we're done with our schematic, we can click here, and that will generate a PCB for us, right? So we'll push the components over to a PCB where we can lay out our components. So that's basically this, a new PCB, right? So instead of clicking here, it can be generated by clicking here. And then we can go back and forth between our PCB and our schematic. So let's just create something simple here. We can add an LED, right? And we place components from this view here, the place components view. Okay. Okay, we can use this one. And here you see the library that this component is in. So every component you have is in a library. If you're lucky, you will find components in libraries created by other people, so you don't have to deal with this yourself. And you have something called the library manager, and it is basically where you can find libraries and enable them. So you can search for libraries here, try to find what you're looking for. So, but we'll not get into that right now. We can do that in a later video. But we'll add this LED, right? So we just double click and then you can place it here, right? And then you can automatically add more, right? Click, 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 like that, until you think you can click escape, right? And you can drag like this, right? And select multiple and click delete if you want to remove, or you can click directly on a component. This can be a bit difficult because you have to be very exact. Sometimes it can be difficult with smaller components. So for instance, if you're not careful, you might select the text instead. So let's say you want to move this component, you might try and drag it, but then you end up dragging this text instead, right? So you can zoom in with your scroll wheel, and there is actually it's a bit difficult to see, but it's actually a cross here, which denotes the center of the component itself, right? And you can drag like that. So let's remove that. We can add like a battery. Coin cell, let me see. A coin cell holder like this. And when you have it selected like this, you can right click. That will rotate the component, right? Click and escape. And we need a resistor, right? And you have some general okay, so you have some generic resistors here as well, which are in these libraries, right? And if you look at the right side here, this doesn't apply to all components, as you can see, but on some components you can choose the package. So this is on components that have multiple 3D models, basically multiple components in one. You can select the package. So for instance, a resistor, this generic resistor has multiple packages, right? So we can select this one, it's quite small. And here you see, right, here you see what will show up on our schematic, right? Here you see what will show up on our PCB. And this is the 3D model that we'll see if we generate a 3D model of our whole of our schematic of our PCB, right, later. So double click, we'll add this, and we can add, click escape. We'll grab a ground symbol as well, just to have a reference here, which is normal. You can use, let me see, you can just use this one. Click R to connect everything. And if you want to, for instance, this wire here, if I wanted to go like from here and up there, instead of getting the bend here, you can just click here first and then here. Okay. So you can also select the commands up here. Okay, click escape. I want to drag this over here like this. Okay. And we need to set the value of the resistor. Okay. I'm not going to calculate this, so we'll just set this to 50 ohms. Right. Then we'll click V. Then it will go into value mode, right? This is quite nice because, let's say for instance you have multiple resistors. So if I draw a few more resistors here, that, and I click V. See, V. I set this to 50. Now this mode is still active, so I can continue clicking, right? That makes it very easy because often you want to design by placing all the resistors, right? And then you can give a value to all of them very quickly. You don't have to switch modes all the time. Okay. To change the position a bit like this, right? That looks good. So very simple circuit. And when we click switch to PCB document, this will automatically generate a PC document for us. You can read the description there. So we'll do that. Okay. So this is the physical board. And our components are placed outside here. So we can actually arrange them a bit before we place them on, but see that the board is a bit too big. So what we can do is we can move it. Let's just move it like this. Not gonna do a lot here, but just to show how you do that. And then you just simply drag your components over. You can zoom in a bit. Do like this. Like this. Okay. So I'm simply going to show how to connect. If you use R here as well to route, do like this. You connect like that, right? And this should be, we should rotate this. Okay, we drag this, click right mouse button, click R again. This is not optimal way of routing this, but just to show how you do it. Okay. I'm not sure exactly. Yeah, okay. This is an easy way of doing it. Obviously, that's not a good way of routing this, but that's how you do it. So if you click push to 3D PCB, it will use the models of these models, like the 3D models of each of these components, to generate a, let me see, you can let this stay as it is, push, generate a group of components for us here in Fusion. So this is how it's gonna look, right? Doesn't look that good. But it's very this can be quite useful, because if you have certain components that are quite high, like tall, to make sure they don't collide, which might be a bit difficult to see here, because you can't see how tall this component is, and if you have another component next to it, they might collide in the z-axis, right, without you actually seeing it on the PCB. So this can be quite nice. If you go back here and you can save here like that, now you can see that everything is linked into this one electronics design, right? So we have our schematic here, which is this file. And here we have our PCB, which is this file up here. And then we have both sides of our 3D file here. Right. This side and this file side. So if you place components on both sides, they will be visible. So that's quite nice. So that's an easy overview of how to do that. And maybe in another video I can show how to how to do something a bit more complex that makes a bit more sense.